of the Westport Town Council. We'll begin our meeting with a pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Has everyone or the town council had the chance to read the minutes from the September 13th, 2021 council?
I have had, and I will make a motion that we approve as
Do I have a
read.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approval of funeral deeds, payroll vouchers, adjustment, and monthly bills. Do I have
I have read and understand them, and I make the motion that we pass those also.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Okay, Rachel, you're up.
I have a couple of things that. There's some pictures in the back of the plant. There are two items. So Division A of our water plant project. Not a whole lot of change from last month. The electricians are still working. They did install the media and the tanks. They did the backwashing, and we're getting, basically the media is what cleans all the water. Right? They got it installed. We still don't have the plastic tubes, which is the thing that we're waiting on to be shipped late because of the whole current situation with manufacturing. But that is scheduled, those are scheduled to come in same day that they were before. So right now we're still planning training and startup for early November. Due to scheduling of all the training and startup, it actually pushes their substantial completion by 7 days. So I gave them an extra 7 days. Figured a week wasn't a deal breaker if it let everybody get trained on all the processes. Once everything new is started up and running and transferred over, they will then decommission the old plant, clear out the building, dispose of all of that. So, this week on site, they're not doing a whole lot. They're doing cleanup. I think they got the trailers demobilized. So they're getting the site kind of put back in shape. Hopefully it's looking a little better. I do have a pay request from them and a change order. So the pay request is brings them up to 92% complete because all the major equipment is there. Like I said, right now we're just waiting on these plastic tubes and then startup training, transition, all of that. So I have their pay request, and then I also have a change order for the new fence and sliding gate. So we talked about this a couple of times. We've been back and forth with the contractor on it. They're installing a new fence for access, and it'll have a keypad and kind of like a garage door opener that the guys can keep in their trucks. So it'll open and then close. And I believe we talked about putting that on some sort of timer to improve security out there. Because right now, when you pull up, there's nowhere to pull off the road, and it's right over the hill there, and people fly by. So they'll back it up a little bit, they'll really pull in, they'll punch the thing, and it'll open automatically. They won't have to get out in traffic, but on that busy road. So those are the two things I have for Phenom. Want to just have further discussion on that. And then I can touch on Division B as well. They haven't been out for the last month, but the easements are prepared. I gave David 2 copies of each easement. Alex has looked at them. I think they're in good shape. I assume we had talked about them starting that on that loop in mid-October, which is where we are right now. So as soon as those can get signed, I'd like to get Omera the authorization to proceed and get that line installed. So hopefully that moves pretty quick. We'll stay in communication in case there's any corrections or issues to the easements. I have the plans updated, ready to give to the contractor as soon as this thing goes.
On that, do we need to touch bases with them? Or they got the contracts and it's just a matter of them signing it and sending it in?
We have the final version.
Oh, you got the final version, okay.
I gave him 2 copies, so
All right.
one they can keep, and then one can be signed and returned to you guys, given, pre-recorded.
And we've got the sign for the folks that it's going to.
Yes, we have the correct names on it. The property's been transferred officially, it's on record,
Okay,
names are updated. So there's actually 3 different property owners, the school,
right.
and then, the 2 property owners along. So, Naming's got all of those, hopefully that goes pretty smooth, we'll watch that. We are having a construction meeting this coming Thursday. We're gonna do a conference call because of different people being different places with not a lot going on this month. We thought we already kind of pre-discussed everything. Hopefully next month we'll be able to have our final one of the final ones on site. Things are getting close to done. That's all I have on the water project. I don't know if you guys need to approve the pay app and change order.
Yeah. So I have a motion on the floor that we pay these FEMA constructions. Have a second? On favor?
Aye.
And then I'll just go on to the next item, which is the.
Yes, go
wastewater
ahead.
update. Okay, so I don't know if we talked about this last month or not, but the town was awarded the $2,500,000 grant from the SWIFT program, which is amazing. I think there were only 22 grants funded in the whole state, and we had how many applicants did they say? We had a lot.
Over 500.
500 applicants. So we were extremely fortunate. I think that's a lot due to all you guys' hard work with putting together the application and stressing the importance of it.
What program was that?
That was a SWIFT program. Hi. No T, just SWIF.
Okay.
State Water Infrastructure Fund. It is tied to the ARP fund. It was state level funds that they were allowed to use. This was strictly for wastewater, drinking water, stormwater, and broadband.
Yes. Thank you.
On top of that, USDA has provided almost $4 million grant on top of that for the wastewater project, which in total is 75% grant, and that is pretty amazing.
It is amazing.
So the next step on that, I think you guys are already hopefully moving forward with getting great results and all of that. I did have 2 little updates. There was a recent item inspection at the plant. I don't know if Mark and Jay talked to you guys about it. No, they didn't point out any issues we don't know about. The one thing they did point out was that there's a stream gauge that needs calibrated. This, I think we have to do every year. You'll probably remember this. The wastewater plant is only allowed to discharge into that stream a certain amount. An item requires that the gauge and the stream be calibrated. I think it's every year.
Is that the one off 1250?
No, it's off Washington Street.
Is it?
It's at the plant, I believe.
That's right, when you turn on Washington Street, it's right there.
Oh, is it?
on the
Okay.
South side of the bridge.
Okay. So Commonwealth did this in the past. Apparently last year, items that they would do it for the town and they never did. So we skipped, 2020 got skipped. Mark asked if we could put together a proposal for that. I think it'd be similar to what we've done in the past. It usually requires just a cross-section survey of the stream and then updating this, what's called a HECRAS model, which has to do with drainage areas and all of that. But something I will continue to work with IDEM on. We were hoping they would push it to make you do it every 5 years, because every year's a lot, but right now it's. So, I talked to Brady and he said he'd get Mark something here in the next one. So he should be able to do that for 2021. And then the other thing that IDEM is asking us to do is give them an update on the compliance schedule. So I went ahead and printed, these are some of the same things we talked about, I think in January. I just did one copy. A lot. I put the schedule on top.
Oh,
So we are supposed to do quarterly updates to items. So this third quarter, I think, was due September 30th. We got a couple weeks extension.
Oh,
But we need to give an update kind of on the project and what the next steps are. So I also sticky noted a couple other things in here. One that just talks about, so the town's under an agreed order and an early warning sewer ban. So the agreed order is the compliance schedule. The early warning sewer
this is our
ban
compliance.
is what says right now they say, if you want to connect new people to the system, we're gonna monitor it and make sure. Might say, if we don't meet their compliance schedule, they'll issue what's called a full sewer ban, in which case they won't allow you to add any new connections to the system. So we don't want it to get to that point. There's penalties outlined in there if you don't meet it. So not only can they issue this sewer ban, they can start giving you penalties for every day that you're late on your schedule. And typically we can talk to IDEM and update the schedule and get the ball moving, but we have to show them what we're doing. So I talked to Jim Higgins, which I believe Laura's trying to as well. He proposed a couple of dates to do a meeting. He said, and I agree, I think the next step might be to just sit down and have a meeting with all the parties involved and figure out what our update is and how to move forward in a reasonable time frame. I sent you those dates, I think. I don't know if you guys talked about which any of them would work. And if none of those work, I can go back to Jim and see what other date he might be
What do you
available.
have?
October 29th, which
Day of
is
the week?
last Friday of October, or November 1st, which is the first Monday of November, the 3rd, which is Wednesday, and I'm usually out on Wednesdays.
If you don't mind, just stop right there. I think November 1st will work. Fridays are really bad for me.
And that next one is another
November
Friday.
1st is on Monday, and how's that sound, guys? You got something on there, John?
No, I can do the first.
Okay, how about you?
Whenever it's.
What did you say, Damon?
He asked if I could be there first. I said, no, some kind of procedure done that week. No, he fill me in.
Okay.
Yeah, this before your next council meeting, so we can do an update for the next. council.
What date was that?
November 1st.
November.
First time.
What time?
Yeah, that's fine.
Whatever time works for you guys. I think he said he was free most of the day.
Whenever you.
10? in the
Sounds
morning.
good.
It's 10 too early.
I'll make sure.
It's very
I'll shoot
weather
him an email, make sure it works for him.
Got severe weather alert.
Yeah, we do.
November the 1st at 10 o'clock.
Yes.
If Brady's available to come, our regulatory
Yeah.
specialist, I'll bring him. He'll go through all that folder.
Okay.
But we've talked about it before, but it's been a while. It's been
Well, I know we
9
need to do
months,
it. We've
yeah.
got to do it.
Then speaking of severe weather, that's your stormwater. I believe you guys met with or have talked
Yes.
to the
Yep, we did.
commissioners.
We met with,
Commissioners and
so you guys are aware. Yeah, we met, Joyce, Gloria, and myself have approached the Decatur County Commissioners to ask for some of their ARP money to fund a plan for the town of Westport, a stormwater master plan. So we've done that now. We've met with 3 different times up in Greensburg. We're going to be persistent. Their ARP dollars can be used for infrastructure and stormwater, which everybody knows what happened around here this spring between the covered bridge and all the other washouts. It's time to look at your overall townwide stormwater system. And by that, I mean really looking at it from a modeling standpoint, where the water's coming from, kind of sitting in a bowl. Where the water's not only coming from, but where's the water going when it leaves here. So we've asked them for approximately $50,000 of their ARP money, a straight grant to the town of Westport, which we don't think is unreasonable. We approached the commissioners first. They told us to go to a committee that's reviewing the grants, so we went to this committee.
Did they tell you to go back to the council?
Not quite yet.
No.
We're not there yet, but Joyce is being persistent and we're gonna get this, we hope to get this money sooner than later, so.
we were hoping, well, I've been hoping ever since I've been on this board for 6 years that we would really address the flooding in Westport. It is a bowl, just like you said. Yes,
So Westport is getting some ARP money as well.
we're hoping.
the town,
We've been asking.
Do we have a piece of that 50,000?
I don't think that's been determined by the council yet. I think that our hope was the county could fund that because I think some of the town's actual ARP money was gonna be put into this large sewer project, I think, at some point. So,
That's farther on the agenda tonight.
Right, it's farther down. What
Yeah,
that,
that's was the
what we-
discussion. That's true. But then we also wanted to try to help the community building. And we've got,
a lot of stuff. on
let's
the-
see, 1, 2, 3 doors to replace inside this building to be AARP compliant. So there's other, you know.
But
things
why
that
we
we're
went
looking at.
there, Brian, was because, first of all, we have to have a study to see why this is happening.
Right.
You know, we can all guess, but until we know for sure, we don't know. And some of the old water lines around here have been in there for 50, 60 years and they don't even know where they're all at.
Yeah.
So this has got to be done eventually. So with some money from the county, I'm hoping we can start it anyway.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good faith gesture for the town
Yes,
to put a dog in the fight as well at 10%.
Yes.
by
Right.
grant.
yes.
We've done that before on grants.
Yeah.
Think about it.
That'd be something be reasonable.
That
And
would
that's
show
very
the commissioners
important.
And everybody that we're willing to put our stuff on the line as well. For a portion of it.
and they did ask about that, and we explained that
Yeah, of course.
for Westport, to take on a water project of the size they've taken on, a sewer project that they're gonna take on.
Fair enough.
For a town this size, it's a big chunk, it's a big bite, and they're trying to buy down the user's rates at all times to get as much grant money, so. But you're right, it may show good faith.
Well, and like we've talked before, if there's a grant out there, we want to go for it. If we don't get it, we don't get it. But every little bit we do get is going to really help the town. And that's what it's all about, is all of us want to help the town, not hurt it.
The other thing I can dovetail on is what Rachel said, kind of as the grant financial guy for, this is unheard of that you got this much grant money
Yes, absolutely.
from federal and state agencies. 75% grant is almost unheard of in this state. And to get that, we've got to keep moving, and IDEM is not gonna wait forever. So it's too big of amount of money to mess around with. So if we can have these meetings as we need to, I think it's really gonna help. And I think, Lori, is Mr. Higgins under contract or will be
Well, I have his contract here for us to approve tonight.
the financial, the rate consultant.
So the first step is to hire the rate consultant. That way he can assess our rates and find out what kind of rate increase, or if that's even needed, what that would be. So he's got basically 30 days or less, really about 2.5 weeks.
I
So,
think that we could have it done by.
yes,
Or at least
Okay.
draft.
yeah. So we're gonna, he and I will be working together to get that done, as long as you've approved and you're okay
Right.
with hiring
I
him.
make a motion that we do approve the rate study, and for all of you who don't know what we're talking about, this guy will tell us, you know, how to keep the rates down and not up here, because we could just go in there and shoot another $50 on everybody's water bill, but we ain't gonna do that. We don't want to do that. I'm not doing it. Yes, sir.
Who's this with?
This is Mr. Higgins. Yeah.
LWG out of Indianapolis.
One that we group.
Okay. Did you check with Sherman Barber Moulton down that?
I did.
Okay.
This is the 4th attempt.
Okay.
at hiring.
Fine.
So, yeah, a lot of people got funding and it got really busy.
I make the motion that we do accept his.
On favor? Aye.
Plug and wait for you guys.
Thank
Lot
you.
of balls in the air.
We-
You know,
I wonder, did they tell us 3 weeks that we would know?
I
Yeah,
heard from you at the end of the month.
okay.
It might have-
Hi, Mike.
my-
Thank you. Oh, was it? Okay.
Okay, was there any other questions on that, the issue, kind of the direction kind of that we're going on things. We know that if we want Westport to grow, there's certain issues we've got to deal with: water, sewer. And once we do that, we can take off. That's the one thing kind of holding us back. All right, next on the item, or I'm sorry, on the agenda was the rental inspection requirement in Westport. That's something John has been working on, so I'll let him do the reading. This will be the first reading.
We gotta do a full reading of this.
You can give kind of an idea, if you're the sponsor of the ordinance, you can kind of just give an idea of what it is, give the understanding of what it is that we're hoping to accomplish with the ordinance, and then the board president go ahead and open it up for approval on first reading.
So we're looking to implement an ordinance for rental inspection. Base of the ordinance is to ensure that the homes that are being rented have the appropriate facilities for inhabitation. So whether that be the appropriate smoke detectors in the house, the foundation, the plumbing, the electrical, all of the basic needs, no infestations of rodents, insects, those types of things inside the household. It also implements an original inspection and registration of the rental unit. The registration is a form that'll be completed so that the town knows who to contact in the event that there's an issue. So the owner of the property, contact number of the property, tenant, et cetera, stuff like that. That's a $5 fee that's going to be listed on there. The inspection, and I believe that was once every 5 years. I don't think we changed that, did we? Yeah. I don't think that was a change.
I don't think so.
So it would require an inspection of the property once every 5 years at the minimum, unless there is a complaint made by the occupant or anybody else on the property where it would require a secondary inspection. Cost of the inspection is a $50 flat fee. No, I'm sorry. That was the fine, wasn't it?
The inspection fee is $25.
Yeah, inspection fee is $25. There's obviously, there's going to be penalties for those things that that aren't done and completed in time. That's going to be listed on page 8 and page 9 that are listed here. And it also lists the people that are responsible for the inspection. We've listed and designated the public works superintendent or his or her designee, fire inspector, and the county health inspector as possible inspectors for that. The other parts of it are just going to be definitions of everything and explanation. So whether that's the inspection fee, the certificate, the notices, the violation notices, how they can be served, access for the inspectors, the time frame that they have in order to give the tenants and the owners prior to the inspection, which is listed at 72 hours prior. There's also an inspection or an exemption clause in there at 5.3 that's related to state housing developments and things like that that have their own. And then, of course, the registration form, annual registration and fee, rental community exception, obligation to update information, and initial registration definitions in there as well in section 4. So that's kind of the overall basis of it. Again, there's 10 pages of it that kind of go through and explain. We're going to post this on the website as well for review over the next month. And then I believe everybody here could have a copy if they would like one, and they were available. So.
Any questions? Concerns?
Remodeling is that for Southern communities? Ordinance?
It's modeled after Whitestown, actually, Indiana. I had been having some trouble looking at them because they got extremely detailed and they were larger. areas. So I wanted to have it, you know, the least amount of verbiage possible with having the maximum effectiveness. And this consolidated it pretty well and worked best for a smaller area.
I'd like to know when your project date is to turn Westport into a homeowners association.
I don't believe we do.
Seems like that's what you're trying to do. I mean, if first people ain't take care of their properties, and that's the people we need to go after. Guys like me that owns 3 or 4 rentals in this town, I take care of my places, my people take care of their places. So why in the world should I have to pay $75 a year?
You don't,
It's $25 per place.
for an inspection once
$75.
every 5 years.
That's still $75.
Okay.
So why should I pay you to allow me to rent something that I own and pay taxes on?
It's an
Do you own
inspection.
it?
No.
Do you pay the taxes on it?
Nope.
And I think you really need to rework this.
I think it's fine the way it is.
You ain't as smart as you think you are.
Thank you.
Got 2 or 3 landlords in town, or maybe an absentee landlords in the hospital, that are your problem. And I think this is trying to kind of cover everybody else.
It
I
is.
don't know for a reason. And I can agree with you, it is kind of like a homeowners association. Where is our legal precedent for that?
I'm not controlling how you're building the house, what's on the property or anything else. It's just making sure that it's inhabitable,
Why do that?
you know?
That's what I-
Well, everybody says they can do that and they don't. Because I can ask the other landlords.
I can't, I don't know.
I can ask the other landlords and we know that they don't, and they would say that they would.
They might be true to them, but it's not good with me.
Right.
You're saying you can expect it to tell me it's better than I can expect myself. Okay, it's ready to go. Your opinion is better than mine.
Oh, yes.
And I need to pay more.
Not mine.
Oh, yes.
How's that?
Well, for instance, if you rented a house to somebody and their front picture window was broke out and you promised to replace it right away and you rent it and a year later it's not in, what would you say about that? Would that be complying?
I don't know. I think that's fine between those 2 people. I don't think it's
Well,
got
it
you call it a
was.
crack in it or it's a safety hazard. I don't know what to call that.
Well, just no window, and
No window.
plywood instead of a
Okay,
window.
yeah, I wouldn't be a
You
good
wouldn't
thing,
take
no.
anything of that.
No, it wouldn't be a good thing. I agree, that should be taken care of, it should be fixed. But that's what a responsible property owner does. I know that's what Gilmore water would do, if their window's broken out, they have it fixed. My window's broken out, I have it fixed. Little Campbell's window's broken out, we'll just do that.
How quickly would you go?
In a timely fashion, without government or a show.
There are
Okay.
people
Would you
that
say a
I-
year is too long?
Yes, I would think yours too long.
Okay, well, then you need to rethink what you said next day.
As soon as possible.
Well,
As soon as possible.
Here's the thing too. Alice can correct me if I'm wrong. We live in a society today that it would be nice to make exceptions. You can't do that anymore because that person, if I make an exception for him, you're going to say, why are you making an exception for him? You're not making it for me. So we've come to the point where it's a blanket for everybody. Or when we go to court, they'll say, what's your criteria? Why did you let this person go, but you didn't let this other person go?
But
And that's
if
what we
you
get
go around
into.
town, you can see some of these other properties, there's obviously need an inspection. where it's minor, it's-
Okay, here's another thing.
I understand.
I don't want to go into this too much. People in Westport have a misconception, like along Main Street and some of the other streets. Those trees are the property owner's trees. The town of Westport is not taking down any trees. However, it's your responsibility if something happens and you'd have liability if it fell on somebody, fell in the street, fell on somebody else. That's not town of Westport's.
sure, right.
That's property. However, the town of Westport has the right of way for roads, utilities, and the sidewalk. Okay, I had a arborist come out to town and she said, Westport needs a chainsaw taken to it. Why? Because the trees are old, they've reached their maturity and they've reached their peak. Okay, well, I'll give you an example of this ownership. there's a person that has a rental property. This tree is huge and it's about ready to split. Big wind comes on, it's going to go not only a possibility on the rental property that they own, but on another person's property. That property owner said they would, if that happens, they will sue. Okay, the person that owns the rental property has been informed that they have a dangerous tree on there, but they've done nothing. Okay, or there's the rental owner is going to want to pay, what, 3,000 or more to get that tree down out of there? No, they're going to drag their feet on it. So there's other issues besides that. So we get so many complaints from so many different people on so many different issues. This is a way to address it. And it's just, it'd be nice in the perfect society that we could say, okay, this person does a good job, check you off the list. This person does a good job. It just doesn't work that way.
What if we had the homeowners on here, properties, let's just inspect everybody. Here's the-
Bring it on, I don't have a problem with
I
that.
don't either.
Bring it on, I, you know,
I mean, really, why would just the rental, stuff? You know what I'm saying? 'Cause there is a lot of owner occupied properties that are
And if you
bad
want to
shape
live
and
in one of those,
not even
move
safe
on.
for them.
We're active.
But they're not being rented out to other people, Roy.
Still, we're talking about whether the home is safe, right?
Oh, that
So
is,
your job is, as town board, to look after tenants and
That's why we're doing this and getting somebody
Correct.
to-
It's not our job to look after the people in the
Tenants.
community.
tenants. You're not tenant protectors. It's not your job.
well, whose job is it
What?
to be town protectors?
Roy,
If you're
that
interested,
don't,
Who's
that
got-
doesn't.
well, if you-
Go ahead, man. Now I'll let you in. Roy, that don't stand, would you tell the Board of Health that? Exactly what you just told me? The Board of Health, somebody makes a complaint, say against one of your rentals, and the Board of Health comes in. What will you tell the Board of Health? The same thing?
What are you saying is wrong?
No, I'm giving you, I'm giving
They're
you an
not-
example.
they're not.
If the Board of Health would come in and it's okay for them to come in, but you're saying the town has no responsibility
I think
to,
it's blanket policy.
I think that if there is an issue that the Board of Health needs to address, then the Board of Health should be the one addressing it. I don't think the town of Westport needs to be an additional layer to address things.
well,
There's already agencies to address these issues, like the Board of Health,
here's,
like the fire department. If
Well-
there's a true fire concern, hazard, then the tenant has every right to say, hey, fire marshal, there's a fire hazard here, come look.
But the tenant's not gonna do that for fear of being evicted.
Well, they're gonna call you instead.
yeah.
It'll be taken care of prior to them even moving in. They will never have to get in between the landlord and anybody else for fear of eviction.
So we're gonna try to make it a big landlord, our big rental, everything.
Already is.
I'm not trying to make it more rentals at all.
That's business. we're going into here.
I don't see how that is.
When you were talking about the Board of Health, I'll give you an example. What happened to that? There was a piece of property that was condemned by the Board of Health. What did those people do? They turned right around and pleaded ignorant that they never got their letters or anything like that. And they turned right around and re-rented that right back out again, even though the Board of Health had closed it down.
To get the Board of Health back out.
We called them and informed them of it, and they said, hey, we didn't know anything.
So to get the Board of Health back out again.
Did
That's
come
all they
back out?
did. They didn't come back out. They
come
didn't
back
do
out.
anymore.
The person
They said that
sold
they
it.
don't have any more authority than we do.
If they re-rent it and have the Board of Health come back out again, and then they get fined again, then you'll show that, hey, you knew.
They wouldn't come back out. That's the point. That's what we just said.
Why?
Why wouldn't they? That's their job.
Go ask them.
Go up there and tell them.
Yeah.
It's the same with the sewer problem that we have down in Sycamore. The Board of Health is fully aware of it and they have talked to the landlord and that's as far as it went.
Well, then, who's about the Board of Health? Who
We've
do they
been-
report to?
We've been told by other agencies, this is our problem and it's our problem to deal with. Let's put that away.
Then you climb up in that agency because they're the only renter. Because it is their job.
You feel free to go up there and talk to them. I'd appreciate it. You can come from Westport and talk to them and see what you get.
I think a lot of small towns in Indiana have one of these ordinances for their rental
It's expanding almost everywhere.
It's all getting everywhere now.
Yeah, it's just not here. You start looking all over across Indiana, Whitestown, a lot of them are small and have exactly the same thing. This is nothing new.
But we haven't done anything, and look at the condition of town. Look what you guys are having to go through to get,
It looks a whole lot better than it did.
it did,
10
it
years
does.
ago.
But I'm just saying, look what happened when you didn't.
Right.
And now you guys are fighting too. I mean, I understand, I'm seeing it all. I called CPS and they told me if it's not right in front of my nose, it's none of my business. Well, it wasn't in front of my nose. But it happened anyway. But it wasn't in front of my nose, so you just shut up. What do? You come out and do anything? Blah, 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 blah.
And
And we were well aware it was going to beat opposition. I mean, we
it's
were,
okay.
but we've got a great number of people that are neighbors of a lot of these rental units that come to us and ask us to do things that we can't do. We try and reach out to the agencies. We get no response. We're told that it's ours to deal with. Now, do we have some people that take care of their properties? Absolutely. Absolutely. And are they going to be upset about this because we need a blanket policy in order to take care of the other things? Yeah, probably. I mean, obviously, and that's one of the reasons why I tried to keep the cost to the minimum.
I don't think it's not cost.
Well, I mean, it is to an extent. I mean, it's still money. In any amount of money, I mean, it's money. I mean, $25 is $25, and I mean, to a great amount of people, especially in this town that are on strict budgets, seniors and stuff, $25 is a lot of money. So, and again, a 5-year gap in the inspection, only because there are a lot of places that don't need repetitive inspection. Having the names and numbers of the people that are responsible for the house on file, that's important. That's a lot of information that we don't have.
I think that's acceptable.
Everyone
owns a house. How it is.
Exactly. And so this is a beginning to it. And the inspection is necessary for a large part of what we're dealing with here in order to get things back up to speed where they need to be, back where other people have their rental homes at. Because we've got things where, Walter's over there dealing with an open sewer running down the street.
That's outside. Outside.
No,
What's
it's,
behind the closed doors? None of your business.
Oh, my.
what's underneath the house?
It's what you can't see is none of your business. My house. is a house.
Well, if the route of the open sewer coming out down the street is inside the house, I would think it would be the business of the public. It's a health issue.
Why don't you shut the water off? Sewer.
That's a problem that, unfortunately,
The ordinance says we can shut it off. Sewer's running out on the street.
there's a state
I'll sign it.
thing, isn't there?
Isn't there something about you can't do it because of children?
Yeah, we can't do it because of the children.
Actually, there's no state law on that I know of,
Can't expose
But-
them to sewage. Children.
But
especially because we're private owned. We're not a member of the IURC. There's some different guidelines with them. But I was personally told that we needed to turn it on for those tenants, so I don't know. Because it's not the tenant's fault. Part of the problem is we're penalizing the tenant for a landlord's problem.
So not the fault. Right? Stop getting it fixed. And you got, makes sense you can have an ordinance that says, as soon as you leak, water goes off until it's fixed, right?
well, it doesn't mean that the sewage is going to stop.
But
Yeah, because they was using buckets
We're
before.
just buckets. to-
We're
to-
finding them now for ordinance violations and they're not paying the fines. They're not
This
acknowledging
is-
it. They're not
this is
fixing
just
it.
gonna penalize the people that do things legally. The
How?
guy that's not listening to the Board of Health and not doing their kind of, you think he's gonna do anything with yours? He's gonna ignore you just like he does Board of Health.
It's fine, but a fine goes on the property like
We'll
that.
have recourse to take.
Yeah, there'll be a fine with it. And we, $25 a day fine, okay, you want to pay that, that goes on your property taxes.
So you have no recourse against the guy leaking the sewer now?
We've attempted numerous things. IDEM was the latest one that.
Yeah, we tried to call IDEM too.
Why don't we draw up an ordinance?
When I call IDEM, they tell me that we could not call, but someone from the community had, I don't understand that one, but we could not,
Right.
basically, we can't do nothing but.
Sit Walter on it.
If Walter,
Yeah.
Walter would call and complain, then they would file a complaint.
Yeah, see, that gets into the reality, like Damon's saying, we can't do anything, so they want a member of the public to call, then they will do something. Well, that's the way it worked at some of these agencies. We've been told before, that's Westport's problem, you deal with it.
And see, I'm sorry, Joyce, I know you're on the board, the county commissioners and all that, but Westport has been the stepchild
I know.
of the county forever, schools included, been there, done that one. And and they don't pay any attention to us. You guys are down there, tend to your own business. That's just the way it's been. It's been like that ever since I've lived here.
I know.
Hmm.
I mean, that's the way it is.
It's better than it used to be, but still,
It's
it's still, as long as we will work trying to do our own things, they're gonna leave us alone.
And it's too, we've had some people come to us afraid to say anything to the landlord about getting things fixed because some landlords has been there, if you complain, you get evicted. So there's some people that's not saying anything, so that's another part of this. They would, but they can't afford to go into another place, and they don't, because that was, I personally talked to the landlord, and that was his answer to it. And I said, well, that didn't get the problem fixed, did it? He said, it got my problem fixed. He just evicted people out. So people know that. So that's part of it, part of the mix. Big pardon.
He would get. Just strictly, take care of it.
Some people don't operate like that. I know 2 or 3 in town. So we can't. Anyway, that's.
So if it's not about the money, where's the punishment? So, so maybe I'm misunderstanding, maybe you need to help me. So you're saying it's punishing people by being punitive. So if it's not the money that's punitive, what about it is punitive to you?
No business with me, you guys, my house anytime, I make sure it's good to go, and I.
No, it
And
doesn't.
we have a good relationship, and they take good care of it. If they don't take care of it, they can't stay. It's that simple. And I take care of it. If they have any problem, they call me, and we generally take care of it as quick as possible. Now, I realize you have some people that probably are not doing it. I mean, a lot of those are absentee landlords.
And as you would
No,
know.
they're not at some of them are
and as you would
absentee
know,
landlords.
We can't draw something up and single out individual people. And as you would know, we can't just draw something up and single out individual people.
I know, but you go after individual properties that have an issue.
You can do it that way. We have to have an ordinance like this. It's not whether we agree or not, where it stands up in court.
Anybody else have anything else?
All right, next on the agenda is condemned properties at 606 Southwest Street, 306 East Main Street, 209 West Street. Huh?
Harry, what you want to do next?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead and close.
This part of it.
Yeah, go ahead and close the meeting public comments, and then entertain any discussion that the board members want to have about the public comment that was just received. If there isn't any comments about the board, you'll entertain a motion whether to or to not pass the ordinance on first reading, and then there will be a second reading next month of the ordinance. As John pointed out, the ordinance will be posted online for others to read. There will be another public comment period at the next.
Okay. Thank you. I will entertain a motion that we close out the meeting.
Public
Sorry,
comments.
on the ordinance for the, provide for the inspection of residential rental housing.
I make a motion that we accept the ordinance.
On the first reading.
On first reading.
Okay, I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Now this will go to.
Okay, what else I need to do?
To be read.
So it's being accepted as is without any. public
No, it's being
comment?
accepted for first reading.
For first reading.
It's gonna get posted on Facebook, and then there'll be a second reading with
There's a lot
additional,
of landlords that need to review it.
Right.
and then there's gonna be a second reading at the next meeting.
Right.
And then more public comment prior to its passing.
Yeah, that, we didn't pass this evening.
Okay, good. Make sure.
That cover it? Okay. Okay, next. Thanks, Alex. Sometimes the legalities of that, I need somebody to say me like Scott used to, say, no, hurry, you need to do this. Okay. Okay, condemned properties at 606 Southwest Street, 306 East Main Street, 209 Northwest Street, and 219 East Main Street. And I think,
Yeah. Harry, at our last meeting, and John, I think you guys said that they could come to this meeting and give an update on where they're at with their progress,
right,
because these are the ones that expired on October 1st, I think.
right.
So if they haven't come into compliance,
Richard's here, one of them.
yeah.
I think you're the only ones here this evening with that group.
And you're 219, right?
Yes.
Right. Hey, I heard somebody broke into that recently and matter of fact, that's been
Oh.
twice now. Somebody stole some.
It's always happened.
All right. Okay,
Did
go
some
ahead and give us
graffiti
an
or something,
update
didn't they?
then.
Well,
Destroy your whole entire-
12 to 13-year-old kids kicked the door. But as far as the update, we're gonna replace the south wall.
Is there any way you can get that secured better so they can't break in, or is that even possible?
Lock only keeps an honest man out.
They busted another window out.
Was that how they did it?
No.
They kicked the door in, threw a fire extinguisher through the window.
Oh, okay.
From the inside.
All
Did they
right.
catch them? Did they catch them? All right. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Department caught them and we're gonna, I haven't heard from anybody yet. But we're gonna try to make them go in there, they painted on the wall,
Make them clean.
painted about 11 windows.
And
That's
Try to
see that
get-
red going down the street there, that they painted it red. So
could you get the parents to?
Joe talks like he can make it happen.
I think that'd probably
That'd be the best thing.
be is
Yeah, I'd rather do that than send them in front of the judge somewhere.
all right.
Exactly.
Be a good idea is restitution, clean it all back up.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's a good idea.
Anyway, go ahead and finish. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, we're gonna replace the back wall. So we've got that studded up and inside the building waiting. So we're ready to go.
All right.
That'll address it fast.
What about the roof?
Are you gonna redo the roof eventually?
That's the,
Yeah,
Okay, that is-
that's part of
okay.
it.
it has to set on that wall. So
But you know what, Richard, thank you for coming and telling us what you, that's all you have to do.
So when
Just
will it
tell
be
us.
done?
Well, they've got all the
When will it be done?
materials out there now, so.
Well, I haven't found 24-foot 2-8. That's hard to come by.
Mhm.
Yep, yes, they are. So
But I think
by the end of the year, you guys are figuring. Yeah, exactly. So before the end of the year,
Yeah.
So should I say
No more
December
31st.
31st?
Yeah, December 31st.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to give the extension. Or
Yeah.
take it off or whatever.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And that's the thing, Richard.
Thank you.
we just want to get people to move along and come up with a game plan and say, this is our intentions of doing it. And that's all. We're trying to progress, clean it up, move things along. And hey, you say, well, if you're doing this, say, hey, great. I'll help you all we can and give you support we can, but yeah, that's fine. And I hope if that comes to pass, if those guys that were involved in it, kids that come in, I think it'd be a good lesson for them, clean it all up and spend the time, the work, and the energy to do it. Instead of just getting, sometimes it's easy to get off on a monetary fine than doing the work because it's a little bit harder to do. It's not that easy to clean all that paint and stuff up. All righty.
And the other two, do we vote on the ones?
Yeah, I think the one.
So 606. That's the landscape part of it's been taken care of.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's the one that's.
Yeah,
I think that.
Where's it at?
they mowed and they were doing some stuff on the exterior, but I don't.
Oh,
It's
down,
the one by the lift station.
right.
They were down there for like 4 days.
So they were doing something.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't have other than that. no
Have they
other
tore the
update.
house down yet?
The house is not torn down. No.
That's part of what you have in the condemnation list.
Is that what it is?
Mhm.
Is that part of the inspection?
I would know, but go back and look, I don't know. I know he was the one that said he was hoping for some grant. Somebody was giving out the remodel it or something.
He's the guy that owned all that property in Columbus.
Yeah.
So his condemnation date has expired. So do you want Alex to go forward with sending that one to court like some of the other ones?
We
Or
did, yeah, we would.
Is that 606
Yeah.
Southwest Street?
306 East Main, which one's that? Is that,
Is that the one you like Holton's?
that's what I'm wondering. Is that next to Colton's?
Has he been doing any work on that at all?
Keeps the yard moving. Well, I don't think
It's
he
still
said he
in-
bought it yet.
yeah, it's not in his name. I think they have some kind of agreement. If he pays taxes for a year, he potentially can get it. But he's only put down $900 on it. And he's got until next August, I think, or somewhere next fall to pay it off to actually purchase it. Otherwise, it'll go back up for share sale.
So technically, he really can't do
You
anything.
really
with
don't
No.
own it.
No, it's still in Stacy Pratt's name. It's still her responsibility.
So you spoke to the other guy, but have we spoke to Stacy and gotten information there?
She will not respond to anything.
And we weren't able to get a certified letter here.
I think that I got it. Yeah, she signed for her letter, and I have not personally spoke with the person that's maintaining this property. I've
Okay.
only spoke to Ashley Green through the sheriff's department.
Well, I think we need to ask you what we do in this case.
So my understanding is that somebody else, you're saying that somebody else other than the person we've been talking with owns that property. But we've not been able to make contact with the person that owns it, although she's signing for the certified letters and receiving notice.
Sounds
So-
like it was.
The owner
purchased on a
has been
sheriff's sale.
notified. The house was up for sheriff's sale this fall. They bought themselves off the sheriff's sale list by whoever's updating the property went and paid. It was either $700 or $900 on that taxes. And so the sheriff through the county will give them another year to come into compliance, pay everything that's debted on that property, or she loses it and whoever's making that payment will take over the property.
You call it tax, I'm sure, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
They bought the tax deed.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, so usually the way that I handle that is I still just look at whose name is the property currently titled in. And if we need to take legal action against them, that's who I would include in the caption. I can always add others if I need to in the caption. Or if they think that somebody else should be responsible for that property, they can always sue to have them included in the lawsuit. But that's generally how I'm going to handle that. Is whoever is the deeded property owner in the Decatur County Recorder's Office is going to be responsible for the maintenance of that property. It's being bought through some other vehicle or the process of being bought. That's really not going to be of much relevance to my calculation as to include on that complaint. It may be that if I can identify some of those other individuals, I'll include them in the complaint, and we can kind of work it out during a court hearing. But that's more of an issue that they have among themselves than it is an issue that I need to really sort out. Because from our standpoint, we're just enforcing the ordinance against the deeded property owner.
So I guess the question to you guys is, do you want to wait, if that person is maintaining the property, do you want to allow them a chance to obtain the property by next year and clean it up? Or do you want to pursue it in court for it to be cleaned up immediately?
Is he keeping it clean? The
He's
guy
mowing
that's
it.
there now,
I don't know.
He's mowing it.
that's it?
Do we have a name for him?
Person attacked him, there's no right, responsibility, or interest in the property. 1 year, he can petition the court for a deed to the property.
Right.
Yeah, but right now he can't do anything on it.
And he's gonna have to go to court
Yeah,
without permission.
I would move forward with it. I think that would be, I would make a move.
And that is 306.
Yeah.
Yes. What all needs to be done there besides cleaning up the outside? Nobody knows. But then why are we? Oh, I see. Well, isn't that the one that,
We're living in the garage.
right, and didn't they condemn that house one?
I don't believe so. I don't think-
I know the Board of Health did come down. and take
That's
that guy
what
out.
I was talking about.
Yeah.
And then she let him move in to clean it up. That's right.
209 Northwest, I'm not.
That's the yellow house on the creek down here.
Oh.
That's definitely.
They
report on
cleaned it
that.
up, but it's,
They told us they want to tear it down.
well,
Never happened.
and the water, somebody said the water didn't get in it, but it did get in it. I had pictures showing the water right up to the window.
So we didn't get anything back from them other than.
They received their notification and they were coordinating some cleanup with Keisha. And she had sent them a quote for pre-tear down of the building and they've never responded since.
Move forward with that. Make a motion.
Second the motion. On favor? Aye. Okay, what else we got? Did we cover them all?
So the 306 East Main, were we just holding, I wasn't clear on.
No, we're gonna move
whether-
forward on that as well.
Move forward, okay.
Most of it except.
Yeah.
Did that cover all of them?
Yeah.
All right, next is NDOT compliance for CCMG ADA/Title VI. What?
I started a transition plan to help us come into compliance. And Harry took a whole bunch of pictures and started an inventory. Because it's kind of a checklist. So here's the transition plan as we have it right now. And then there are some extra things I'm gonna have to include. And I had started a resolution, thinking we could get that done, but I think that probably you guys need to review the grievance policy and some of the self-evaluation and stuff and make sure that it is satisfactory or that if there's any edits we need to make or anything. And my goal is to submit a resolution next month. The resolution is a requirement saying that we accept the policies of the American with Disabilities Act. It will include our grievance policy that we have listed in this transition plan. It will have, it'll identify the ADA coordinator. It will talk about if someone makes a complaint, how we will address that complaint in the resolution. So that was starting to get a little involved, and so I didn't get the resolution done for tonight, but this is the beginning. And what has happened is NDOT has cited us and said that you cannot receive any community crossing money until you come into compliance with your ADA and Title VI protocol here. Typically, when we fill out our application, we've been able to slide by in the past because I would just list Kenny Buning and saying that we address it with him. But the state wants us to go through them, and they, of course, have certain paperwork that has to be included in that. The list, and I think we've talked about this earlier in the year, but the list of items that they want is 12 things. They want an ADA transition plan, which is this first document. They want the grievance policy or procedure, which is in here. The ADA non-discrimination notice, which is the resolution that we would sign next month. A Title VI implementation plan, US DOT Title V assurances, which I got to get with NDOT. I'm not for sure. And maybe Alex can help me with some of that as well. An external complaint policy, which is just a form that we're creating. An organizational chart, which I do have done, which just lists who's the chain of command in the town. LEP services, Title VI staff training, voluntary public involvement surveys, and I speak cards, which I do already have the flashcards. So there's some things we have, some things that we don't, some things I don't know what it is. So I'm gonna have to get with Alex, but this is the start of that process. But once we get all the documents into place and you guys have accepted the policies as a council, then I will submit all of that to NDOT, and I'm sure they'll let us know what we need to do to get into compliance.
And for those of you who don't understand, this is just
Red
pretty
tape.
simple red tape that the town, if we build anything or have anything, it should be accessible for handicapped people, mentally handicapped, whatever kind of handicap they have. It's about the same thing that the schools have to do now. When the child goes to school, they have to make sure that all of this is in place for them. So we will have to pass a
It'll be a-
compliance bill
Yeah.
in order for us to ask for any money for our streets. NDOT, which is transportation.
See, we
So,
expand on that. We get, it's matching money. So we won't get any more matching money from the state unless we get this done.
Community crossing grants are
Yeah.
mainly for the paving.
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
paving of the town.
So, and we had already begun some of that. So when we rebuilt and redid the police station,
Yeah.
we made
Yeah.
sure all that was compliant and everything. The only thing is we didn't put that into a plan.
right,
So.
Yeah. Yeah. And even as a town, I can't find anywhere where we actually acknowledge the Americans with Disabilities Act. And as a town, we have to accept that and say
Right.
that we follow those guidelines. And it'll help us with community crossing, but it could potentially help us in other funding too.
very simple, actually. You do.
Any questions on that? Just like that, this is where we're sitting at right now. It's a dated building. There's 3 doors, entryways to, right here, that's 29.5 inches wide. It's got to be 36.
Can't get it.
We removed the water fountain, so that gives plenty of clearance now to go back to the bathroom, but there's going to have to be money spent, to get ADA compliant within this building in here and other things we've got to do.
It has to be able to have someone in wheelchair and stuff.
Yeah.
And wheelchair entrances. I think we did that
We
at
gotta
the
do-
park
we
here
gotta do
a
the
year or
back-
so ago.
Back on the
Yeah,
other side too, that lip
yeah,
needs concrete back in.
just a lot of
But
little red tape.
for government programs, they're saying it's an either or situation. Either you're in compliant with it if you want the funds, or you're not, you don't get the funds. So just like this sewer project, 75% of grant money, that's a lot. For our town, that's money we won't have to spend. That's 75% that they're going to give us. We're scrambling around, trying to be compliant on all this stuff.
So the goal is to accept all the policies and have a grievance program so that if someone does have an issue in the community, they can file a formal complaint and then we address it in a formal procedure.
Okay.
And then it is holding the town accountable to eventually making everything in town accessible. It's not saying that tomorrow everything is accessible, but it is saying that we have committed to improving the town. So like the back door, maybe that's fixed this year, and we just did the water fountain in the bathroom here, but maybe 2 years from now, we're doing sidewalks or curbs or what have you. So it's just us committing and identifying all of this on paper, saying that we are willing and we are going to do this.
But you would like us to look over the grievance procedure? and
Yeah,
stuff
if
first?
you would look over that, that's the transition plan as we have it at this point. And then Harry and I have pictures of all the curbs and sidewalks and all of that I'm gonna copy and put into the plan as well. So look for another email this month that will have more information, and then just give me your feedback. I want to get one of these to Damon because Damon will be our ADA coordinator, so he needs to take a look and see if the grievance policy is doable. I mean, there's like 15-day turnarounds and different things. So
Is it 15-day turnaround in the response? Not
yeah,
necessarily the
yeah, like
return?
responses and how long you have to complain and all of that. So if he feels like we need to adjust that or whatever, we can. But I just kind of copied off of what Commonwealth has on their website as a recommendation for their ADA transition plan. So it's very, very much what Commonwealth has on there right now, but we can definitely adjust it. What is this town here? That one's only a few pages. The town of Avon is a whole binder.
Yeah,
So
that's for the town of Avon right there.
yeah.
Well,
Just their
Their
ADA
rental
plan.
policy was like that too.
are we going to have this also on the website?
I think that there are certain things the state requires us to have in this, and then once we've approved it, we can certainly put it on.
Okay. I make the motion that we start here where Tori has, this sounds really good to me. Did you read it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we need to make a motion, a second.
On favor,
So,
Lori's been doing that. I just take pictures, dig things out off the internet, try to help her out. Okay, the next thing is, there's a story that goes with that too, and this is a true story, and I'm here in the state of Indiana. There's some people that have certain attitudes on things, but anyway, they were handicapped. So they went around this town and looked and seen the things that weren't handicap accessible. They got a lawyer and sued the city. It cost that city a bunch of money to go back and redo all the handicap stuff. So people do things like that. We don't like to think people don't do that, but this happened in the state of Indiana not too many years ago. So part of this, and I'll tell you the people here, we're trying to catch up on all this stuff. We know what the government's going to do. We know the attitudes of some people, and people are suit happy. And just like the one guy on the ADA, the guy actually went out and looked for things, whether it was in the courthouse, whether it was in the restaurants. He went out and looked all over the place with him and his lawyer, and they sued. And that city had to go back and start fixing all that. It cost them millions. So
give anybody any ideas?
no, well, that's common knowledge. But so the thing is, Roy was talking about, we don't have a responsibility in certain areas. Yeah, in certain areas we do. Areas like this, we don't want the town getting sued. We don't want this. We're trying to look ahead for this. So you guys never probably heard that story, but that happens if people do stuff like that. We're trying to do the best we can for the town of Westport. And another review on this for a month, other input, but we'll see. But I wish I could say other stuff that's going on, but I can't. But that's just the way people are. They grab and sue whenever they can. Anyway, enough said on that. Okay, planning for AARP funding.
ARP.
I was gonna say,
I qualify for AARP.
Oh, that's what you said, AARP.
Did I actually? Well, that's a slip of the tongue. I mean, ARP funding. Did I really do that?
More than once, but we won't go there. So
Well, I'm glad somebody stopped me about that. Oh, my goodness.
I'm all game. Yeah, put me down.
They're always sending me stuff in mail all the time, hearing aids, all that, this. I thought, man, my goodness. All right, ARP funding.
So we've received our first increment of the ARP funding. We will get a little over 300,000 based on our 2019 budget year. And before long, I'm going to be filling out forms and documents saying what we're going to be intending the money for. And so we need to start that process of planning those funds. Also, we're getting questions. What are we spending that money on? With the stormwater stuff, are we going to put any towards the stormwater? Or is it all going to go on the wastewater project? How much of it are we going to put on the community building? So it's time to start planning that. So where do we start?
Well, like we discussed, 10% or so toward the stormwater planning on that. We want to give a little bit for that. How much did the community building say that they needed?
I haven't got any information from them lately, so I don't know. I don't know if you guys want to create something for people to submit, or if you want to set up a planning committee, or I don't know how you want to start it, or if you guys want to schedule a special meeting
we
to
want
start
to do
planning.
that. I really think we need to look at a large portion of that funding to offset the cost of the wastewater treatment.
Mhm.
I mean, we've already had a cost increase related to the water project. I think
Yeah,
we need to make sure we make a large impact on wastewater.
I agree with that. I don't think anybody in here wants their water bill to go up. I mean, regardless, we're gonna have a little bit, but keep it real, right?
What would you say, John? 80%, 90%?
Would it be
I would
better
hope
to
so.
wait until after we have the special wastewater meeting to see what our rates and stuff are going to be for that
Let's take a look
project?
at that and see how much we put towards it, because I think we really need to focus on.
I know somewhere on down the line, we've got to do
I mean,
something.
obviously, we've got a stormwater issue, but I think that wastewater project's important. I mean, if we're gonna put a 10% into the 50, I mean, that's not gonna take a lot away.
What I'm thinking though, John, is after the study, we'll know a lot more about what we've got to have.
So maybe if we sit down, how soon do they need it?
Well, we don't need to know right away what all we're spending it on, but we need to really start thinking and start planning, talking and thinking, okay, we've got this much money, what are we gonna do? And the ARP funding is limited. Right now, they're saying water, wastewater, and infrastructure is directly related to COVID. The other categories is employee salaries and hospitality, tourist, anything where COVID directly affected their revenue, any of that during the last couple of years. So it is pretty strict in what we spend it in. So
Wastewater is a big category, so it's.
Yeah.
And maybe we take a look after the November 1st meeting where we're at and see what.
And
That sounds good to me.
I know something on the community building, we are gonna have to help on that. They got some issues that they've got to deal with somehow. Either that or we may end up getting the whole thing dumped in our lap.
It
Something
belongs
like
to
that.
the town.
Yeah, it belongs to the town anyway. My last conversation that I had earlier with their board and everything, it was kind of getting discouraged on things and tried to give them a pep talk, or we're gonna be end up taking care of it. I really didn't want to do that. Unless you want to be on the committee. What's one more? All right. Start planning for that. But John's right on what he's saying.
After the November meeting. then.
Okay, the last on the agenda is discussion on the Westport transfer, does town of Westport have a backup plan? I know there's rumors and everything that they were gonna close out here at the recycling center and do away with that. And it was on Facebook and I got several calls about it, even when I was in shopping at the grocery store. I went out and talked to the guy and said, just stop, please don't be telling people that anymore because it's not true right now. And he said, well, you know, anyway, we've had some discussions. So if they do close that, which that's a real possibility, what is our backup plan? I had some conversation Saturday with Mandy, yeah. What's that?
She's the clerk of the solid waste management.
Yeah, Decatur County Recycling. And she was saying maybe that's true because maybe they want to get out of the recycling business, not the garbage business, but the recycling business, because people aren't making that much money off of it anymore like they used to. So, okay, what's our backup plan? I made a commitment to Mandy that the town of Westport will be responsible for getting it manned. We'll take care of that part of it. If they would help us make sure that the dumpsters were dumped and we had new ones in and everything, we'll take care of part of our end on it, but we have to have some help on the other.
If they're gonna man the trash portion, what's the difference? The attendant being there and the recycling's being done.
You know, if we're going to be complaining about the cost of it, the man cost of it.
They wouldn't be manning it,
This
they would
is-
just be removing it from the property.
This is what.
All of it in its entirety. So
Yes.
the disposal of the trash and the recycling.
Yes, the whole thing.
This is, I sat on that board, president of it for a while, but when they won the right to expand the landfill, there's a lot of stuff from out of county that goes to the landfill here in our county, from that they go all over the place and get it. This little thing here that they don't care about it.
No,
I mean, I hate to say that, and I live here, but it's not something that makes them a lot of money. As far as recycling, like he said, and we've all worried about this, that someday they're gonna stop recycling. What do? What, I'm all about cleaner earth and trying to recycle or else make things that you can use up and will not be in a landfill. But it's almost impossible.
So,
It's almost
I mean,
impossible.
without another provider willing to provide the service out there,
There's the
I
key.
mean, there's really nothing we can do. We're not in the business of
Right.
hauling and disposing of trash.
no.
But there is something we can do. We can, you all use Rumpke or Best Way, whoever, all of us do this. I don't really know how many people go out to the dump out here. I don't know. I don't go out there myself because I have a tow. It's hard for me to do. But I do know that a lot of people, a lot of the older people that I know go out there, and because they only have like one bag of garbage and it's $1. Well, the Rumpke, when I first got
It's like
Best
$50 a
Way,
month.
yeah, you get 3 months for,
Per
is it
bag.
$2
It's
now?
$2.
Okay. Now, people don't put it in their mind that you get a 3 months worth they charge you for 3 months for a tote. They think, oh, $45 a month. No, it's not. It's 3 months for $45. So if you have a lot of trash, that's the way to go. Otherwise, if they close this down, and I'm not saying that they're going to, they may never do it. If we could provide a person out there to help with it, that might help. As long as we still use Best Way in our totes here, they're gonna be around here.
But they still may put
Yes,
the
they still may pull.
30-yard dumper rental on us then, just to keep it here, instead of just providing it.
Absolutely.
I've
Do we
already,
want to incur, I mean, 30-yard dumper is like $500. Do we want to
Yes.
incur that?
I
That's
talked
something we'd
to,
have to think about.
is it Mark,
Yes.
the guy
It is
from Best
Mark.
Way?
Yeah.
And another option that he said that I don't think we'd be interested in, but this is what he threw out at us, is that if they close the dump, he suggested we have a couple of dumpsters gated in town and a town employee man it for so many hours during the week and offer that as a service for people that still needed to dump their trash. Another option as well is kind of like the town of Milan, is just to offer a bid up to all the trash companies around and say the town is going to go straight with just one provider, and it would be at a negotiated rate with the company, and it could potentially be cheaper than each resident paying for a private company to come and get their trash.
Because now it costs us nothing.
Right, well, the dump doesn't.
No.
But
we'd be-
what she's saying-
But our options are that it's gonna cost us either labor, well, it would cost us both labor and infrastructure.
Yeah,
Because we'd have to gate them, we'd have to have them manned.
You
we'd
have to
pay
gate
the
it.
dumpsters.
and right now we're making money off of rent for them to
Right,
rent it.
right.
It's not a lot, but
No, but you have to be careful putting one in town. We already have that.
I mean, I think we need to be
why
careful.
should
I
just
think we need
leave
to
it
be
there.
careful dedicating
man hours.
labor dollars and
Exactly.
dollars into the infrastructure.
What
for
happened
it
in
and the
Greensburg
rental.
though is
everything else.
there was one there that people could use and they did use them. But you would find it all over the ground and then somebody threw a little cigarette or did it on purpose and burned the dumpster with everything in it. So they pulled it out. I don't blame them. We would
Right.
have to do the same thing. But in this small town, hopefully nobody will get that idea.
So do we have any confirmation that any of this is happening?
Do
Just
what, honey?
written confirmation, no, it's just all rumor.
Yeah, it
Then
is
let's-
rumor.
Then let's
but-
not operate on rumor and worry
Okay.
about what could or.
But-
It's not,
It
it's
is
not so
coming.
much that rumor, it's potential to come.
Yes.
I talked to Mark and he said, yes, he did say something to his employee out of concern that they may not be there much longer. He said he will give us notice. Our contract says they have to give us at least 30 days notice, but it is coming down the pipeline more than likely because they aren't making any money off of it.
So if I do it, oh, and I was told too, if that happens, don't be thinking that we can run down to North Vernon to do it because they've already said they'll crack down on it out of county stuff. Or
Our
check-
contract,
Check that
our
out.
contract renews every January. So, I mean, it is approaching as far as renewing that contract.
But we renewed the contract and then they upped the price per bag after we renewed it,
That's right.
didn't they?
Yes. I'm here to tell you though, that best way is no way solid waste management in Decatur County. I mean, somebody thinks that that is the best way. No, they just provide a service to us and. that's
They
the way it
provide the
works.
trash
The
part.
Yeah,
trash
yeah, they
pickup-
just
the
haul
trash
it for.
pickup at Greensburg, that's how it stands. And the county, well, now they're gonna renege on the county,
So they're not gonna have the residential pickup either?
yes.
Okay.
They will have that. But
They
it
wanna
could
get
come
into
down
the
to the
other.
point that they won't have any out in the county. You'll have to haul your stuff to the landfill.
Oh,
Yeah.
Our concern was on that, and I'll close this part of it all. The reality is if people don't have a place to dump certain things, they will start dumping it anywhere they can. And you'll be, that's reality. You'll go along the roadside and people will see bags of trash and all kind of stuff. So what we've discussed tonight is just preliminary thinking of what we're going to do, what if. And just kicking around some ideas, that's all. Because like I said, we already know, you've seen it, we all know what the reality is. No, I don't want to drive all the way up there. No, I don't want to spend the money. Oh, it's dark out.
Mhm.
Goes offside the road.
That
so-
being said, we will have a large waste
Yeah, when
dumpster
is that?
here, the 19th of October, for anything that you want to put in it, but we cannot take tires, we cannot take building materials.
Electronics.
Electronics should have been on the electronics
Right.
truck last week. There's a lot of things you can't put in it, but any old furniture and things like that.
Toilets.
Toilets, yeah. Just as long as it's not building materials, like we had one guy back up with a whole load of lath and plaster. What? But couches, chairs, you throw them in it.
Glad you said that. I forgot that. October 19th.
19th.
Okay, anything else we have on this agenda? Or I'll open up the floor. I'll close this portion of the meeting out and we will,
All I got is, I got this for the patchwork,
yes.
where we fix all the water line. $4,500 for all the patches. So we get that approved, get that.
Yeah, because they're gonna close them.
Yeah, they're actually wanting to do it tomorrow. They
Is
wanted
that
to
the,
do it today. I
where
was like,
you've marked
no.
with white? Have they marked them with white where they're patching?
Well,
with
if
white
there's
paint?
gravel in town, yeah, it's
Okay.
white.
'Cause I saw, no, I saw somebody mark mine with white.
Oh, that might be the ones, well, they're wanting to go do those too. The
Okay.
ones around the Rogers and Sanders.
Right.
They were wanting to do the other patchwork that's on us, not the project tomorrow.
I make a motion that we accept. That. It doesn't seem too far out of.
So if you're gonna do that though, I have to
Okay.
move funds because we do not have enough funds in our
Okay.
local road and street repair fund. So I just created this resolution in case you passed it, which I figured you would. Resolution 2021-5, asking permission to transfer funds from the local road and street operating supplies fund over to repair and maintenance fund so that we can afford to do this project.
You're a second?
I second. I make it. I second.
No, we don't second.
We
He's
don't
got
care.
all
Okay,
favor,
yes, we'll
aye.
have to do that. If we can fix it, we're not gonna leave him. Let's see.
Who's gonna do the work then?
So, Mayor, because they're gonna be here anyway, patching the rest of their work, so.
Are they doing anything about the, down that street down from me where Jennifer lives? Right there. Are they gonna repay that or something? Jennifer Camp.
That's part of this.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. Okay.
Is that anywhere
The
there's
center of
gravel,
Range Street down there,
You want-
the center of Range Street.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be that area, that'd be the intersection there in Mulberry and
Right.
Williams.
Oh, that's allowed.
Yeah, and then over on Bennett Street. I can't remember where they're all at.
I have Range and Mulberry, 407 Range, 406 Range, Range and Shot, and Bennett and Owen.
And 204. That can come up. Is it on there?
Range and Mulberry, where that whole intersection is. I want to, if I can sneak this one in too, this
Go ahead.
resolution number 2021-4. I was cleaning house in some of our accounts and we had some outstanding checks from 2008 that have expired and nobody ever cashed them. One was $3.85. Another one was $16.30. And then there was an account notation for $189.28. And it was never withdrawn out of the account from the credit card company. So I'm just asking for permission to write these off.
You have my permission.
Make a motion.
I
Right.
make the motion.
Second motion.
On favor, aye.
I,
Lori, do you have any more surprises?
You never know. Well, I guess technically I had this letter. Jeez.
All right, go ahead.
Sorry.
okay.
I sent you guys that letter during the
Oh.
month, but I don't think he's here to present
He's
or
not.
anything. So I don't know if you need to do anything with that.
Okay. In order for him to do this, he's got to jump through a lot of hoops. Right now, us doing anything about it is not going to help.
I didn't know if he was asking for a letter of permission or,
No, he didn't say that on there, but I read that whole thing, and he has got to go through the courthouse to change zoning. He has to go to the zoning board meeting, then he'll have to go to the appeals zone meeting, and then maybe come to us.
okay.
But I don't think
So I'll
they
just put it in the
use
file.
farm, yeah, I don't think they will change, that's prime farmland, and, well, it could be.
No, it's really, it's not agricultural over there, is it?
I don't know.
Beside it,
I think it's own
I think
business.
it's on commercial.
just,
Yeah.
just the building is,
Yeah, you have to get it rezoned.
he still
R1.
has to, he's wanting to rezone it though.
To residential, yes.
Didn't Damon have to do something to the sewer line to hook up to ours too?
Yeah,
Well,
you would need to,
That's
put a
right.
lift station and
That's
everything.
right, the lift station and
Um,
everything has.
It's just the size of it's gonna be different for commercial. and
Potential
residential.
motorcycle biker place
Kickstand
out there.
Oh, yeah.
They're living there. They're wanting to make it residential. They called in and sent me that letter and they were complaining because they wanted to put internet, but they weren't allowed to put residential internet because it's its own business.
And the only way they could hook to the sewer, they had to have a grinder and a pump, 'cause that's a force main.
Right. Well,
Which we told them,
two,
we told them that
I
every time
mean,
they come in.
And just the size of it will vary from commercial to residential, but it
right.
still has to do the same thing.
Right.
Even if they went to get it zoned differently, that's gonna take a while. It's not something that happens overnight.
No.
So,
Oh,
Done.
okay, thank you.
one,
I read
But
it.
if they get zoned residential, are they gonna have to?
They will have to do that with their, yes, and somebody needs to tell them that.
Well, I
Every
talked-
time it's now, we had some, they keep asking like it's gonna change, but.
I talked to
we can't
Jay
change it.
and he said that the requirement had to do with the fact that it was a commercial business and their current septic wouldn't meet the requirements of a commercial
But it might.
level. But even at a residential level, it doesn't quite meet their needs. And he's seen the sewer pumping, septic pumpers out there a couple of times already. So more than likely, they're still gonna have issues, but I don't know if
It's
that's
gonna
really
be
our
a while.
problem.
Well, the
Yeah,
health,
it's not-
the inspector will go out there.
Yeah.
It'll take a, it's a take.
just a second. Oh, did you have a question about that?
No.
Okay. Well, then we got a little bit. One thing, before I jump back into that, remember that gentleman that came back here and wanted to build a garage size?
Say Road 3.
Yeah, on State Road 3, whatever happened with that?
There's just a garage sitting out there.
He would have had to submit to the county area planning. I'm sure they had a meeting with him at some point and they would tell him whether or not he was approved.
Well, yeah, he was one that's to sign off on. it.
We just,
Rapidly.
Chris Duvall said we just need to be aware of it. And we sent the letter saying that, yes, we were aware of the situation. And I put in the letter that we did realize it was above their guidelines, but they can make that decision as to whether they accept it or give them a waiver or anything.
Building is.
Next,
Here,
yes, sure.
I have not seen Gloria Resolution 2021-5. Does that just move the money over into the account? Or does that resolution also go ahead and spend the funds as requested by Dana?
Mine just moves the money into the account. So do they need to vote for approval
Yeah.
to spend it too?
Please, yeah, let's go ahead and make the record clear on that, that we move the money over through the resolution.
All right.
Is that an
in
amount
area-
required to do that?
Didn't we vote for that?
Is that over the amount required?
Well, the budgeted amount is 2,500 and this is a $4,500 expenditure. So just a motion to approve
Entertain.
the
Next
expenditure.
motion.
Wait a second. On favor? Aye. Nothing? George?
Well, that's a
6:06. Well, they are going to end up in court.
Well, right now, I found out from Glenda Cole's, I guess, their helpers, that they all went on vacation. Out of state.
They did what?
They went on vacation out of state. Is that against the law?
No,
They went on vacation, not even paid no bills, nothing.
So they're gone? Are you saying they're gone?
No, they just packed up and went on camping, I guess.
Well, that's not against the law.
No, it's not against the law, but I
Yeah.
thought they had a penalty on some bills they had to pay.
oh, I don't know about all that as far as the town's response on that. And Alex gave me the paperwork and I signed it. We will be taking those people to court.
Well, went around and messed it out.
That is our legal way to try to remedy that, to get all that cleaned up. So
I believe they're supposed to be ordered to cease and desist too from the building inspector, but I don't know. how that
That
works.
happened, I don't know.
You're supposed to be red tag, but they could rip it off the door as fast as they put it on.
That's true.
I would not.
I know that sounds slow. Yeah, that has to be a unique area in Westport, I guess I'll put it that way. It's,
Well, I've been
I
picking
didn't
their
know.
stuff up in the alley, throwing it on their place to keep people from running in my yard.
right. But, and it takes time, but we're following the steps to go through to remedy the situation, and it'll end up in court. Matter of fact, paperwork's been signed to go to court on that 606 East Shot Street.
Shots,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, I know that doesn't, I know a lot of people want things done real quick, and
I know you guys got a bunch of stuff on your mind.
no, it's not only that.
But it's going forward, so.
Yes,
it just-
it's moving forward. We just, you gotta do the legal way, the right way, the court way, going through all that, and it takes time and it's slow and it's cumbersome, especially if a person says, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. Okay, well, then,
They haven't done that.
no, I know.
Just been tearing it up more,
It's,
bringing in more stuff,
yeah, it's.
and parking in the alley, which I've been trying to tell them not to park in the alley. They kept telling me not to.
That's a cat and mouse game with them on that. We send somebody down there, they move it or have moved it, so. And we know, I know it doesn't help you out right away, and it's like a standard pad answer all the time of things we're working on, but the paperwork's been filed. So. About that. Anything else? Right.
We had the people come in at the car store, on the highway, our first building for, I think we had the water on for 88 days. We got charged for 4 months. Just kind of way the overlaps and stuff. They moved out at the end of July, and there's red on it, it was 30th, Friday. And then that weekend, it cleaned up. On Monday, I had to shut off. We got charged for 4 months, and then on Owen Street, I said water turned on last week. And they billed us for 7 days there or 8 days there, instead of putting it on a whole month. And I called Greensburg, on this, and Northern Sally did theirs, and they said usually if it was 5, 6, 7 days, they would just get a bill for 37 days, a month, 7 days later. Or if it was like 10 days, they might get a prorated bill would be 1/3. I'm getting a 4 months bill. I only had the water on Owen Street for 7 days, and it was 70 gallons of water, we still have water. So I won't be billed for a month, but I won't have it all week. It doesn't seem unreasonable. The same thing for businesses. We don't want to discourage businesses. If you charge them for 4 months, they won't have it on for 88 days.
I don't know what our,
So our current ordinance is set up to where we have minimum charge that we bill someone each month, no matter what their water usage is. So when they turn on their water, whether they've used it for 7 days or whether they've used it for 30 days, there's at least a minimum charge. And then if they've used it over that, then there's additional water rate increases. The money will increase after that. So his bill at the motorcycle place up here is $49.57. And he said something about 4 months. I'm not sure. I didn't see 4 months worth of bill. $49.57.
We sent an extra $10 and they kept sending us a bill.
Absolutely,
We sent
you
$10.
did.
We thought that would cover the 22 different gallons they use that week.
You sent in $10 and it was 70 something, so that took it down a little bit. But there's still a remainder of $49.57. And then for the other account, Owens, there's a $30 turn on fee that was never paid. And then there's $60.03 for the 1 month of billing.
Turn on the bill or something.
So $90.03 on that one.
$6 the whole month's bill for 7 days.
So I guess if we were to come up with a solution for that, we would have to come up with something to add to the ordinance saying that we're going to prorate it a certain amount, or figure out how we would make those kind of accommodations, because currently we don't have anything like that. We don't have any prorating, or that we're only going to bill for 5 days at this amount. What our water rate study says at this point is that we charge at a minimum rate, which is pretty consistent. Rachel is pretty familiar with that. Brian's familiar with that because of us just going through it with the water project. So I don't know if Rachel has any input from other towns, if you know how they do that, or.
All three towns I called, 10 days or more, it's proration. That's less, it's at the next bill. They're not gonna charge you, if you turn the water 2 days later, they read the meter, you can't, what's 2 days gonna be for a whole month? 1 day gonna be for a whole month? You know, oh, don't have your water turned on the day, they're gonna read the meter tomorrow. But, you know, that's, we just need to prorate it somehow, or just, like I said, it's a 2 or 3 or 5 days over. It's a 35 bill the next month, you know, but don't. And at the office, and I'm not complaining about this, but we didn't have water there for a long time. When they finally did put it in, we've been there 16 years. And the first 11 years, I paid $70 a month sewer only because they didn't have water hooked up. They had to give me a flat rate. You know? And since then, the last 6 years, I think it's been 6 years, I've had the water on. And I think in that whole time, I've not used 500 gallons in those 6 years. But I still pay that $70 whatever it is a month, every month.
Base fee.
Not ripping off the town. You know what I'm saying? They're getting free money every month.
No,
Well, I mean, every utility's got a base rate. I mean, whether it's RAMC or whatever, you know. But- You know, as far as anything now, I mean, there's nothing we can do to remedy what you're asking for as far as proration. We don't have an ordinance for it, you know. I would imagine maybe it's something we can discuss with the new rate consultant.
Okay,
How we
what if
could
I
build
water
that
turn
in.
on the day before the bridge meeting, what we gonna do?
Well, according to our current ordinance,
That we're set up to bill for the whole month. Yeah, we have no, there's no way
according to the current
to,
ordinance.
Okay, well, I want to tell you that sounds a little crazy, all right? Yeah, it's not right. One day.
I mean, why not
And
carry a
this-
bucket of water in then for one day? I'm like,
Yeah, that's why I should have told that people want to start visiting. You can't turn the water on because it's not a good time. You have to wait for the right time to turn the water.
Yeah, I don't know when the ordinance was developed, and we've never been, I don't think it's.
we
been
just
reviewed.
did the rate
Never
study
applied no
last
common
year.
sense.
Yeah,
We did the rate.
well, the rate setting, but I don't think we
Yeah.
ever discussed prorating or anything like that.
It's likely something that you rate could add and now you could just give it.
Let's encourage businesses, encourage people who are remodeling, building homes, and not work against them, and make our ordinances work against them.
I don't think our ordinance was written to work
No,
against
ours
it.
is working
You
against
know, I mean, you've brought something up that I don't think we've addressed before,
no, we've never been asked.
them. I'm saying the ordinance is working against these things.
so.
Let's fix it. Let's fix it right now.
But we
So,
can't until,
well, we have to wait for a rate consultant discussion, so we've got that scheduled for 11.
Well, I'm not
So
talking
bring
about
it
not paying it. I'm just saying combine it. I mean, don't charge me for 2 days. If I call and have the water on 2 days before the water meter's red, don't come read it 2 days.
But I can't go against the ordinance at this point. Be my guest.
no, we can't go against our own ordinance.
They would require an ordinance change.
Right.
Modification.
We'd have to have an ordinance change and we gotta go back, we're doing a rate study and doing all that. And the idea is, Roy, that you put into that would go back into the new ordinance of any changes and everything.
So
Have a negative effect on something
So earlier in the meeting, we had said that we're gonna have a rate consultant come in. I don't know if you recall. So we've got a meeting on the 1st of November at 10 o'clock to meet with the new rate consultant. Okay, and they go over these things and how we could write our ordinance. Some of it we have to comply with the way that the grants are written and the things that we're applying to. Okay, but when they come back and they do that, we can ask them to discuss prorating things like you brought up. But it's something that we've never entertained, looked at, or had before. So we can bring that to the table and discuss it with the rate consultant here in November. But as of right now, there's nothing I could do to remedy the situation you're in. But moving forward, we could take a look at it with the rate consultant and look at and amending that so that maybe that's not an issue for
So
anybody.
if I had water turned off today and I had it on for 20 days, I'd be billed for 60.
No, you're billed for
No,
30,
60.
1
No,
month.
no, no.
It's a month at a
No, it
time.
overlapped. It overlapped the meter for you. I had only got sent one bill. I had 2 bills. I had to charge for 60.
If you If it was red in the middle, you
20
are
days.
billed for
It's on
two.
for 20
Yes,
days.
yeah.
Bill for 6. Okay. Well, I just wanna make sure
Yeah,
I
if
understood that.
if it, depending on where your meter is read at,
Actually,
sure,
be on for 4 days, 2 days before meter's read, and 2 days after
Yeah.
meter's read, and be charged for 60 days, right?
yeah.
And that's encouraging businesses around the Westport.
Well, and we are not aware of these things or pay attention to it until you come and say things, or other people in the community come and say things.
No, I mean,
And unfortunately, with the water rates and how we charge, we have to pay somebody, we have to do a formal consultant before we're ever given permission to change or do anything to those, to modify those costs. Because the reason that you are paying the rate you're paying is because we're paying money to the government to pay back the loans for this water treatment program. That's why your rates have went up, because
and that's why we gotta
So
follow
much-
the ordinance and
so
rate
much
stuff.
of that money is going straight to the USDA government. It's not that we're pocketing it or we're making any kind of profit. All this money is rated so that we can pay the bills, so that we can
But it's-
continue.
It's hurting the customer, individual, client, business owner, and person. That's.
And we're glad you brought it up, because we can address that come November. And we can address that come November, and we can have the new rate consultant look at that so that we can remedy some of these issues.
Why are we just not doing what every other town does? I mean, why is ours a special deal? 4 days can charge it for 60 days worth of water.
Because that's the way the rate consultant brought it back to us, and that's how the ordinance was written.
And they don't write any other like ordinance like that either town, just our town has that ordinance.
I guess, Roy, I would ask you, why didn't you complain about this like 10 years ago when you first started doing rentals and opening them up and having these? Because it's been that way forever and ever and ever.
It's never affected me.
You're lucky, I guess it worked out that you never were in that cycle, but I'm sure it has affected different people in the community. I don't know.
I never got a bill for like 3 or 4 days water supply.
Well, you know,
And I assume the person.
and nobody's brought it to us before either. And nobody's brought it to us before. But we're willing to, we're willing to take a
The
look.
other thing is, some of what you're talking about, waiting until the next month wouldn't happen, because it's you turning on the water for a week between tenants. So the next bill that is in that property goes out to that tenant. So it's not like we're trying to bill you unnecessarily. We're billing you for the money, the water you're using there, because the next month, it's a different person, it's in a different name. So it's not like we're gonna send them your bill. So if you use it for 4 days and then someone else opens up an account to that property because they're a tenant, we can't send them your 4-day bill.
I don't know, 4 days before and the overlap of a meter reading, getting charged for 2 months.
Yeah, I get that, and that's
That's
frustrating.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll address it.
My suggestion, Roy, moving forward, like John said, could you put all down what you are articulating today, put it in writing? And when we go to the examples of this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this doing this, and put that all in.
I'll be at the meeting. I'm pretty clear on what he was asking.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, John knows, so we'll take that to the meeting with the rate consultant study. But as it stands now, we can't go against the ordinance. Okay, here in the back. Sorry, what's your name? I'm sorry? See, I do need hearing aid. Maybe I better open those up. Did you have anything else to say besides this? Ryan?
You both look back through your resolutions, I think you'll find a recommendation that we made as a board for the zoning, extend some of the property. What we recommend to the, A1 or A2. We also put some stipulations in there, whether I think it's a grinder pump or commercial septic, or I think it's on file.
For a residential zoning?
No, agricultural.
Okay.
I don't think that, I think it'll be quite a while before this ever gets to our attention.
The same answer is. Same answer.
Right,
Put it up.
right.
Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to get around somehow.
Yes,
But,
I do too.
But they're still gonna be looking at, and from what I understand, because I'll be doing it here soon, is if they've got to upgrade their septic at this point, it's gone up from $10,000 to about $18,000 for about the same size here recently. So it's still gonna be a considerable amount of money to upgrade the septic to what they need regardless. So I don't know which of the their grinder pump may not be as large, but it sounds like it's gonna be comparable anyway.
That's my question, Donnie. If they do upgrade, we have anything that says since they're in the corporate limits, that they have to connect to the sewer? Are they still will be allowed to have a finger system?
Is there a finger system there now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they have now. That's, I've obviously heard it's not working correctly, so
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. So if they have to upgrade, are they required to go to the town sewer like every other new house?
You know anything about that, Brian?
Resolution.
Okay.
Alrighty, is there, oh shoot, man, these meetings get longer and longer, don't they?
Keep telling stories.
I didn't tell any stories
You
this
told
time.
some stories today.
I didn't tell any stories. I just doubled up on the AARP.